Thank you, Robert. Bob. The Hall of Fame committee would like to announce the addition of Neil Whitehand into the club's Hall of Fame. Neil currently lives in Western Australia. He is the brother of Colin, also in the Hall of Fame, and also played in the first two A-Turf premierships won by the club. Neil came to the club after a 6-year stint at Sunshine in the sub-district competition. He spent 4 years at the club batting mostly at number 3 and 4. A consistent run getter when pitches were not only uncovered, but in most cases to be kind, underprepared with the exception of Barclay Reserve, which was just right here. Though he probably had the best 2 wickets going around. Unfortunately, it wasn't our home ground. Neil played an exceptionally vital role in the semi-final of the first premiership, getting over 80 and watched as he and Phil Weekly put on 100 or so for the second wicket. And the club plummeted to be 9 for about 160, then 9 for 175 or so, and need 40 the next day. Neil had organised a function at his home and decided not to come the next day. Went to the family function. He decided not to arrive for the extra time on Sunday, as he says to me a month ago. He had confidence in the kid, but thought we had no hope with Tucker O'Donnell batting at the other end, even though 15 had been added to stumps on the Saturday night. Anyway, he was very happy later that day when he joined 100 or so in the rooms afterwards for the celebrations. He played a vital role the next week, though he made what looks like to be only 27 and a score of 150, and Murray made another 27 as well. And both of them, the wicket was atrocious for a grand final on day one in particular, which was played at the Sunshine Cricket Ground as we know today. It was rolled crossways and basically corrugations every metre down the pitch, hence up and down the bounce. You didn't know which way it was going to go, over your head or along the ground. He played a good role with the club following the following 2 seasons and played in another premiership in 68-69, accumulating runs the year after Day coached the club. So we'd like to welcome Neil Whitehand to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Barry. Now, a lot of people here, I don't think anyone here, apart from Uncle Murray, of course, because he knows everybody, and Jimmy Purtis. Just a couple of questions on Neil. So, uncovered wickets. How do they reckon the players will go these days on those wickets? Bess?
Well, they probably battle the same way they did then. The 150 was a fair score to chase down in those days on many of the wickets. The one over here, probably 200 to 250, was the smallest one.
Right. Okay, who were the other gun batsmen around that time? Because Uncle Murray told me he was the best player ever to play cricket. So was there any other good players around? Batsmen? In our team?
We had Kevin Grealish, who came to the club not for the first premiership, the second. Uncle Murray, of course. And there was a lot of guys that sort of chipped in for them and done their bit, sort of thing.
Now, Baz, you've done a fantastic job here to get yourself into this story as well, considering it's Neil's award. Because when he was talking about the kid at the other end, there was a young Barry Watson, who's under 16 player, at the other end, and we needed those runs to get into the semi-final. And the other guy, we called him Ducker O'Donnell. Was that because he made ducks all the time?
Well, I think that's where it comes from.
So we had a guy who makes ducks all the time, and a young under 16 kid, Barry Watson, here putting on those runs. It was, what, 50 runs at the end, wasn't it, to get us home? 55, sorry, Baz, underplayed that. It was 55 runs, not 50. And we actually got into the grand final, and that was our first ever premiership. So you done a good job there, Baz, to get yourself into that story. So Neil must have had a lot of faith in you, but didn't bother turning up the next day to watch you make those runs. So anyway, all right, mate. So yeah, you talked about the grand final. What were the scores? Do you remember in the first grand final? We made 150. What did we get the other team out for?
Randy and I had batted first and got somewhere around the 80 mark. And then we were in at 5 for overnight. I remember packing my pants. I did want to bat the first day, really. The second day, I think we had a lead. At the end of day 2, they were virtually 7 for 27. And then got to a 60 or 70 lead. And we passed them. Their main bowler went to a wedding. He got replaced by a guy who came on and took 3 for 5 or something. And we got the runs about 8 out for about 70, and probably the last 6 runs were leg byes. So it was a really tight finish, even as you can imagine, the conditions were difficult.
All right, thanks, Baz. All right, we'll move on to the legend, the man who's been elevated tonight. I'll hand it back to Barry, and Barry will say a few words.
Right, our new inductee moved over to you. This is the person that's been upgraded to legend from the Hall of Fame. He moved over to United to play seniors with a few of his mates after playing under 16 with Deer Park in 1976. His first 2 years with the club he played with the seconds and the thirds. He was man of the match, getting 80 odd when the thirds won the grand final under Geoffrey Foster, who was captain, and included Mel Gent after he returned from a short stint as YCW coach. I thought a lot of Mel being YCW coach, they got him back to the second year up. Third. In a B-turf grand final the following year against Druids, he and George Olenowski took the score from 9 for 80, chasing 180, to be not out of stumps, and they'd been able to continue in the next day, they would have won the match. Obviously didn't win because of the conditions of play. He debuted in the A-turf in the third season at the club under Mel Gent as skipper, and played as a batsman. Halfway through that season, the wicketkeeper at the time, Jeff Litchfield, gave the game away, and tonight's legend so began a lengthy spell as the club's keeper. He struck up a great partnership with the legendary leg spinner Gary Matheson for so many years. So much so that he played in 8 premierships for the A-turf. Many players are lucky to get an opportunity to play in 1 or 2 grand finals. He played a big part in all 8 premierships and also some runner-up games. He was captain coach of the club in 1 and captain in 2 of these. In his keeping days he batted lower down the list and proved to be a real snag for opposition bowlers to remove. Namely 2 semi-finals batting in dark conditions with Tony Paone, and another game of Braybrook and wet conditions that held out the opposition. He captained the SCA combined side against Sunshine Sub-District. He came back in the early 2000s to captain the Force, where they won the flag, with a lot of the older guys coming back to play like Dean, Larry, Pino, Joe and Rowan, plus some young kids too that went on to be good United players. Under Shane O'Brien, he captained the seconds and nurtured kids like Ben, Lee and Brett, Tim and his son Scott. All went on to play in the first 11. And one funny thing was that he was called up when he was 48 to keep under Shane because Scott wasn't quite ready. Next game he got dropped so Scott could debut, so he got dropped to be replaced by his son. Best thing that ever happened, he says. So unique. He continues as a life member, committee man and club president for the past 11 years. He's not only been a great player for United, an outstanding club person, and we congratulate Mark Dalrymple for being upgraded to the legend status.
Applaud Mark. All right, Mark, I'll just ask you a few questions. I know you're a man of few words. And I don't want you to start using those long words that nobody understands. Keep them down under 15 letters. All right, mate. Now, there's a couple of things Barry said that I just want to clarify. You started as a batsman, is that right?
I was.
Well, you said you made 80 in that, was that a 5-day game? Was it
Back in the days, they were 3-day games. 3-day games, and I did nudge the ball around enough times to take up some time to get a safe ball.
80, so it was inside 3 days.
Embellishing the truth, I think it might have been about 50 or 80.
Oh, okay. You told Barry 80. So why did you actually come down to United? How did you get down to United in the first place? Because you went to your park.
Well, I was at Sunshine West High School as a 16-year-old, and David Duxton, Brucey Robertson, Neil Greaves, who guys would know who that is. We're all in year 18 as well. We're all in year, I'll call it Form 5 and Form 6. That's year 11 and year 12. And I was playing at Deer Park, and those guys were Sunshine United playing seconds and firsts, and they said, look, you need to come down here. I said, no, I'll stay there park, I'm pretty comfortable there. And then Robbo said, look, we need a keeper in the twos. And the year after that, I was playing seniors and didn't get picked in the twos at Deer Park. And I thought, you know what, I think I probably deserve a chance on turf. So I made my way down the road, only a couple of kilometres away, by the way. Yep. And so just moved wherever did mate. And from there, the story started.
So you took over after Litchie. Litchie was a good keeper as well, but he struggled a bit with Matho. He was good back or at the stumps, the fast bowlers. Maybe it wasn't your forte, but you were a much better keeper for Matho, and Matho was a legend of the club. So what was it like keeping the Matho all the time? Must have been a bit nerve-wracking at times.
Oh yeah, I had I was a bit fortunate. I was just naturally able to pick Gary, and Gary bowled. I mean, Shane Warne's now gone, and that's terrible. But if you can just think about how good Shane was for Australia at the level that we had, Gary was very, very similar. And he was a guy that probably could have played a lot higher cricket. And his leg spin was phenomenal. He was made legend last year, by the way, and we weren't able to induct him properly like we are today. And unfortunately, I had the chance to take his trophy like this down to his son Darren only a couple of weeks ago in Sunbury. So it was good to chat to Darren about Gary. But Gary, unbelievably, 2 years in a row took 100 wickets in the competition. And that sounds a bit silly right now, but that is what he actually did, so that's how good he was. And I was fortunate just naturally that I could pick him. He bowled really heavy leg spinners. You could hear the ball fizz. He had a really good loop, and he had a lot of dropping his pace off the ball, a lot of bounce because he was about 6'3". And then he come around the wicket sometimes to bowl wrong-uns. And I just naturally just watched the ball, or even watched it out of his hand, and was able to strike up a good relationship and a good, a lot of confidence with him. And we took stumping after stumping, a lot of catches, and it proved to be a really good partnership, with, which is now very fortunate for me to be another joint reason with him.
Okay, mate. So you played in 8 first premierships. You also played in 2 other premierships. How many grand finals do you think you played in?
Well, it's hard to talk about yourself, but 8 in the first. I played 3 losing ones. We played in the 2s, but one they talked about was George. 3rds, so I think I played in about 11 winning ones, and maybe 3 losing ones. So it's not a bad ratio. Not a bad.
Well, that's a fair record. You also coached a couple of junior teams to grand final victories as well. Yeah. All right. So you played on a few captains as well. You had Ken Hansen, Ian Smith, Larry Simmons. You coached yourself for a couple of years, the captain coach. Who had a Ken, Ian, and Larry? Would you rate there as the best captain?
Oh, gee, Ken, Ian, and Larry all different. Ken was probably the reason why the club finds itself in the position we are right now. Ken come to the club from sub-district as a 33-year-old, and then he looked about 53. Grey hair, receiving, but was just the person that we needed at the time to maybe move us from being a maybe social club to some club that wanted to really win. And he ruled with an iron fist, Ken, and I think he was perfect for that for us at the same time. So to compare him to Ian, and Ian again was a terrific player. Ian won a medal in the competition, which is called the Brownlow, the Sarah Bryan medal. And another hard taskmaster, which Robbie can attest to, because when Ian was coach, we used to have to run laps or run every Thursday or Tuesday around the streets of Albion, and you had to run at least once, and it was about a 5k run. And Ian was a PE teacher in his school days, and you used to have to tick your name off the board once you did the run. So me being maybe a competitive young bloke, I run every Tuesday and Thursday, and others had to do the same thing. anyway, there was this Tuesday that Robbie sitting next to me didn't turn up for training and didn't run. So the Thursday he turned up and Ian had his board up and said, right, Elmer needs to run, Rigo needs to run, Munno needs to run, as a party needs to run. But he forgot that it was about 100 points of rain that fell that day. So Robbie turned up and said, listen, it's raining outside, Ian. I had to work on Tuesday. And Ian said, start running, Rob. And I can still remember Robbie running around the streets of King Edward Avenue, down Sydney and Adelaide Street. He'd come back, he was a drowned rat. And that's how hard Ian was. Larry was just a champion player, again won the medal. And Dean, fast bowlers, they're not the smartest, are they? And Larry again was a great player. I kept to him, and there was just a few times I said, Larry, I think we might need to do this and do that, which we ended up doing, and we had a good partnership when we were captain, coach and captain together. So if you ask the question, I think maybe Ken's got them all covered.
Alright, so just finish up. All those premierships, you played premierships, was one of the 8, one of your favourite ones, which one sort out the best work?
I think probably the first one, and if you just give me a couple of little minutes, the first one under Ken was probably the catalyst for the club moving forward. As I said, we were probably a social club at the time, run us up under Bobby, Rowan's dad a couple of times, or even to semi-finals losers. But that first grand final under Ken was probably only because of the semi-final the week before when I had a game in Shane's Leeds tonight. That semi-final we were, I think we got Druids out at Pennell for about 150, which is a great score. We finished higher on the ladder. And we had to then go on that later on. One of the days, the second day, it rained all day, and the paper in the days used to have the scores the next day, and we were the only turf competition that day that played. No other turf competition played that day. And we had to see how to draw Shane and I, and we were, I think we were 9 for 80 just to see how to draw. And I'm talking, there was water, yay deep, and we had to back through that. So that game was probably, if we lose that game, maybe history for the club might have changed. The other one that makes a really poignant point to me is the game against Druids, again in the dark at Deer Park. It's a famous game that you might all remember. It was a semi-final, and again we did a good job to get Druids out for about 200, and we played, we batted and had to chase down that score in light that you could argue now that there's no one knowing you would play. And we continued to play on because we had to win the game, and we did do it. So those were the two that I think were probably the best. So if I said out of those, it'd be those two. So
yeah, that's very true. I remember those two games distinctly, and that first one, we shouldn't have been playing cricket. There was rivers running down the wicket, and the one at Deer Park, I think if you look out on the Ballarat Road, all the cars were driving past with their lights on, and we're still trying to play cricket, and we got those runs and we went on in the grand final. All right, mate, thanks very much. It's been a great career. You've so deserved of this award. If we all put our hands together again for Mark. He's got the taste of it now. As you know, Mark is, do you want me to talk about that now, Mark, or do you want to say a couple words? Okay. All right, so as you know, Mark has been the president for the last 11 years at the club, which is a great effort, and probably one of the second longest presidents, I think, in the club's history, outside of Murray Elmer. So this year he decided enough's enough. It's a very draining job to be president, and of the Sunshine Night Cricket Club, it takes up a lot of effort. And Mark's done this over the last 11 years. He played all that great career, and then he put his hand up again to do the president's job. Sometimes it can be a thankless task. You've got to make decisions not everyone agrees with, but that's just part of the job, and you did a great job doing that, Mark. I think we got off to a rocky start. We went from all the way up, all the way down, but then we got all the way back up again, and we won the 3 flags and accumulating that win in the first division grand final a couple of seasons ago, which is a fantastic achievement and probably one of the best achievements of the club. So congratulations on the 11 years, Mark. Much appreciated, and well done, mate.
Can I just first of all thank the committee for putting me up as legend. It's really humbling. I thought I had this covered, but when Robbie was talking about it, I started to get a little bit jittery. But really, to be the 5th legend of the club under the 4 previous is a really humbling experience. Something that we know as a kid coming to the club you would never think you would even achieve or even try to achieve. I've loved my time at this club. I've had a lot of good friends. It's my second family, and it was an honour to be in play, and then after that to be president as well. During that tenure, we had a great time in terms of finding ourselves, as Robbie said, maybe not where we wanted to be. We've now established ourselves as a very, very established club in senior division, whereby we're probably known to punch above our weight. But some of the achievements we've done, as in winning the senior division flag, having Selwyn Park in the position that it's in now with our facilities, our club rooms, our scoreboard, thanks to Mummy's work, and as well as all the other achievements that we've achieved. I really think it's terrific, and I just want to thanks so much for the opportunity to not only play there, but represent the club as a president and as a committee. And I'm very proud, thanks to my family and to Sally Hughes even and to the table over there for all the support you've had over the years, because I was just thinking the other day about I've been maybe on the committee at that level for 15 years, and that's about as long as I've known Sally. So she doesn't know anything other than me going to presentation nights and going to committee meetings on Tuesday night. So again, thanks Sal for your support. And yes, it's been a terrific ride, and I'm sure there's going to be more, and I just want to wish Paul and the committee going forward all the best. And like Terry said, I think we're in a great position now to continue what we did when we got the senior division. If I remember, we made the finals the first year, not so good the next, won the flag, not so good this year, so it means the next season we should be making finals. So thank you so much for listening to me for this time. To all the award winners, well done, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much.